You're not going to sing, are you?
Gotta saddle up your boys. You gotta draw a hard line.
I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, this is your kryptonite, right?
No. He's saying he's taking notes.
When the gun smoke settles, we'll sing a victory tune and we'll all meet back at the local saloon. We'll raise up our glasses against evil forces singing
Whiskey for my...
So parenting, what do we think?
I think that's the intro.
How much whiskey do you need to parent well?
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
0.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that what we're talking about?
Mm-hmm. That is what we're talking about.
Okay, Toby Keith.
Yeah. Was it today? Was it yesterday?
Yeah, he died. Mm-hmm. He had stomach cancer, probably from all the beer that he was feeding the horses and himself. I mean,
and the whiskey.
But Toby Keith, this is a real fact. Toby Keith was the first country artist.
Yes. Not the
that
first
I remember
country artist.
that I remember
Okay.
knowing and singing the songs to, like my it was like deep roots. Yeah. JT, make sure did he die from stomach cancer? Is that correct?
Country star, yep, battling stomach cancer, February 5th, 2024, 2 days ago.
2 days ago. Okay, so I said today, but it's 2 days ago.
Yep.
Him and Alan Jackson were like my country startups.
Yeah, I mean, from Texas, like country, that was...
Yeah.
What's so crazy is you recently bought a truck and nobody believes. They're like, oh my gosh, you're not the truck kind of person. I
don't know what that means.
I know. I don't know either.
It's like,
well, maybe like the blonde hair, the pearls, the Tesla. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't fit the picture of a Chevy High Country.
I don't see what kind of mold is culture trying to put me in.
No,
because it seems like you're trying to do the same exact
there are
thing.
stereotypes that are real, though. They happen
like
because
whose?
of a reason.
Like what stereotypes, babe?
Like,
careful with your words.
People that own trucks, that have big trucks, they're usually like more country looking. You don't have a country look. Like dirty boots and like you're never putting any kind of dirt in the back of your truck.
Well, speaking of the country look,
yeah.
This will be a nice little segue into our family doesn't look like the normal family.
Okay.
Right? Do you see how I did that? Mm-hmm. Because today,
I think it does actually look like the normal family. Most people don't know.
Dude, what kind of coffee
I
is
thought they
this?
made it like...
Dude, I just got you guys black coffee.
Never again. I promise. I swear. No.
I see you drink a cup of black coffee every day.
No, I never drink black coffee. No.
What do you
It's
get?
always
what do you
creamer.
get?
It's 70% coffee, 30% creamer. Easy.
Really?
I'm talking no.
70% creamer, 30% coffee.
Yes.
That is
He
crazy.
drinks coffee-flavored creamer.
Well, hey,
That's
it looks
what he
better.
drinks.
Oh, yeah. It looks better in the clear mug if it's...
That's
It
true.
does.
I
You're
don't
right.
drink coffee at all.
I'm going to do it, though. Because
Maybe-
last time, this pod was a hit.
That's right.
And everyone attested it to being because of this coffee.
Okay.
Yep. Well, it had 300 milligrams of caffeine in it last time.
Okay, so we're talking very heavily about single parenting.
Yeah.
Because that was a part of your...
Tell us about it, Tim.
your-
What was single?
Well,
what is
no,
single
I mean,
parenting like for you?
It's single parenting for me. I've been doing it for the last 8 years,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it has been a journey. No, and then us being a blended family,
Yeah.
and we'll probably talk a little bit of what it was like me becoming a parent and a husband at the same time.
Right.
I think we alluded to it last time where I
Alluded to it. You mean you asked how does that math work when you alluded to it?
Well, I had talked about my brain stopped. I don't know what I said last time.
Okay.
So
Well, let's first put a disclaimer on this, just like right here in front of the top. We're not experts. None of any of these podcasts are going to be us giving advice or maybe advice like we know anything.
We were practicing this episode, which we're going to learn really quickly not to do that we just need to do it in real life.
I disagree.
I know, but we were practicing it, and it's, again, on-air therapy.
Okay.
It really is. That might be the thing. Parent podcast, on-air therapy.
Yeah, because even as we were talking about it, we started talking through things and we were like, oh, this is kind of like a therapy session in and of itself right now.
Yeah, like you had never told me some things.
Really?
Yeah. You were like bawling.
I wasn't bawling.
Yes, and I was making
up.
jokes so that the bawling would stop.
That was normal, yes.
And we're talking, that's what we're going to talk about.
Right.
Why I do that.
Okay.
Because I don't know how to cope well.
So the point of this podcast is not to give advice, is not to do all those things, but to really just
Tell stories.
Stories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In the midst of the stories.
Maybe help somebody out just by hearing a story that you're like, oh, you know what? That makes me feel a little more sane.
Okay, so a story that I would love to hear, and I think the audience would love to hear, the four people. Can you let us know how many have watched so far?
The four people.
The four people that have tuned in. Is what was life like before you married me?
What was life like? Like in parenting? I mean, I had been a single mom for about 6 years, I think, whenever we had met. And so single parenthood, for anybody that's going through it, man, that's not an easy thing. And so, but it was a lot of different things. I think I was focused on work. I was focused on raising Brody and being a single parent. It was, you brought a lot of color and life to my life for sure.
Wait. Before we get into me, let's just keep talking about what it was like before me.
It wasn't bad. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
It was life, but it wasn't as full. That's for sure. I don't know. It's a difficult thing to be the person that there's only one parent in the home, and you are having to be both the father and the mother for, which I don't really believe that you can be both, but you just try your best to do the best you can. And to be in this home of like, I was going to school, I was trying to finish my degree, I had a couple of jobs, and trying to raise this little boy to be a great man of God too at the same time. So it looked very, not a lot of time. It was very, very busy, was my life.
Very, very busy. Well, that hasn't changed.
Exactly.
Right?
That hasn't changed. But I do say oftentimes there is, and so far has still yet to be, I'm not saying that there couldn't be something that becomes more difficult, but nothing in my life so far has been more difficult than being a single parent. Like that
was the hardest thing that you've been through so far.
Yeah, for sure.
Like by miles.
By miles. The mental strain that it takes on you, even like the physicalness. Yeah, I'm just as busy now. The physical busyness of my life has even increased, I would say. But the weight that you carry as a parent to think like to do all things and not to have another person to share that weight with, there's a reason why it wasn't meant to be that way.
Yeah, so when I met you, it was as if you had have lived, and I did not come up with this wording. Obviously, someone close to us came up with this wording, but it gave me great language to go, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. It was as if, when I met you, it was as if you had lived so many lives already.
Yeah.
And,
for sure.
People would call it maturity or wisdom. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a lot of wisdom in
it didn't feel like maturity
stature.
Or wisdom while I was going through it. That's for sure. Though.
Yeah, but it really did feel as if like, no, there was more to it. We met at summer camp.
Yes, we did.
We brought our kids to the same campground. Yeah. Our youth ministries to the same campground. I did not want to go. I'm glad I went because the first day, I met you on the first day. They brought all the youth pastors up, and you were the only girl youth pastor. And I remember looking at Luke Peterson on the front row. He was there, and I was like, dude, check the left finger. check the left hand. Like, I need to know, is she married? Because she was right by me, but I couldn't see. And I'm like, this woman, oh my gosh. And no, for real, because it was crazy. And then he was like, there's nothing on her left hand. Literally, I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And from then on, I looked at Luke and I said, and Luke can attest to this. Luke can attest to this. I looked at him and said, this week is no longer about the kids.
Oh, no.
This week is about me. So for the next week, like next 5 days.
Yeah. I just noticed we just ended up being around each other a lot. There wasn't an initial, like, you didn't come up and talk to me. We didn't have this, like, initial interaction. It was just like, I kept finding, I was like, oh.
Dude, are you taking notes?
There he is again.
JT needs to take notes because he's looking for a goal.
This is really kind of my I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, this is your kryptonite, right?
No. He's saying he's taking notes.
I get to help this podcast, but I also receive from it a lot.
Take notes because literally within those 4 days at camp.
Yeah, for the next 4 days.
I would literally put myself in her path. Mm-hmm. It was not stalkish because we're at the same camp, like whatever. It was just like,
I'm going to take my lunch and sit right here at this table beside you.
I can tell you need a drink of water. I'm going to go get a drink real quick, and then you're going to meet me over here and go to the fountain.
Yes.
There's only one way to the auditorium. I'll wait.
Yeah, that was, so the very first time we talked was at the end of camp. It was the very last day of camp. It was camp that ends at like 10 a.m., which is really weird. But I was coming out of the dorm rooms and we were walking up this hill up to the sanctuary, and he was just there. And we walked up together, and I was like, oh, now we actually will get to talk because we didn't talk the whole week. And
we had talked. We didn't have conversations, but because remember, like, you came up in between the two dorms, and there was this big group, and see.
Yes, talk as in like, was that your kid that came and hit my kid? Like that kind of talking, for sure.
Yeah. That's a little moment.
Yeah.
Hey, it worked, bro.
Yeah. But so quickly after that, so we had a conversation. It was 15 minutes long, because I remember, because when we walked in the auditorium, the countdown was on the screen. We talked, and I just remember thinking, man, that was a really great conversation that felt different, felt deeper, felt more mature. Just felt like, oh, this is a ministry. Like, I could talk about God. I loved ministry. That's what I wanted to do with my whole life. And so quickly after that, I was like, oh, man, I hope I get to talk to him again. I went and sat down in my seat, and I had, like, notifications going off on my phone. Tim Somers started following you on Instagram. Tim Somers started following you on Twitter. Tim Somers added you as a friend on Facebook. All at the same time. But honestly, I was like, wow, that's really bold. I'm not at a place in my life where I want to play games, and he doesn't seem to care if he comes across strong, and actually kind of like that, because I'm not here to play games. So if he's interested, that's great.
But I remember following her on Instagram throughout the week, because I did that beforehand, and I was like, oh, she has a kid. Mm-hmm. It's a kid.
Yep.
It's a boy. Mm-hmm. It's a boy.
He's a grown boy.
He was a grown boy.
He was 7 at this point.
Yeah, 7. And I was like, crud. Maybe she is married. Mm-hmm. You know, like she has a kid. You know, she's married. Maybe she just wasn't wearing her ring. And I don't know how. Yeah.
Oh, he was 8. I think it was 8. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only reason why I knew, or how I found out that you weren't married, was Justice, because I was like, I had a conversation with him, and obviously related at that time, was able to kind of give me a little inside scoop on different things. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then finding out,
he was doing undercover work.
Yeah, I was doing some undercover work
during the week. Yeah. So then you find out that I have a kid. What goes on in your mind at that point?
Well, it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this big thing. It really wasn't. It was like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Are you married? Okay, you're not. All right. Whoa, you got a kid, and he's 7 years old. can I handle that? And I don't even know how to answer it. So it was really quick. Like I didn't even actually know what that question actually meant.
Right.
Is what I mean.
Right.
So
'cause you
I was
know.
just like, nah, I don't care.
Yeah.
It don't matter. Like, let's get to know each other.
Right.
Type.
I do remember you saying, you were like, I realized, though, that this was not something I could step into lightly. Like, if I was going to start talking to you, I needed
Correct.
to, one, know that
I needed to be okay with like,
you came with the kid, which means I immediately would become a parent. And it just quickly, it snowballs into, I have to think about this a little more seriously.
it's like I was dating you and Brody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just click that right there. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was a part of the engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like as much as I wanted you to fall in love with me, I wanted him to as well. I wanted it to be kind of part of the process. You know what I mean? And
yeah. And I think I felt that too, because as a single mom, as I'm navigating this life, and obviously I dated, and while being a single mom, it was like, when do I bring someone into his life? And when do I introduce them? It had to be when I knew that it was going to be serious. I didn't.
what was the thing that you were like, okay?
Well, there wasn't a competition, I think, between. I didn't feel this competition that you needed to compete for me against Brody. I felt you want Brody to fall in love with you just like you want me to. I felt that, even though maybe you never said that. I felt it, and so I was like, okay, this is someone that I want to have in Brody's life. Obviously, amongst a list of other things too. But
So what
did your family think when you told them, or what was their reaction?
Oh man, you know how bad I am with memory, so I could exaggerate or could. What's the opposite of exaggerate? Look that up. What's the opposite of
Opposite of it?
The opposite of exaggerate. Disintegrate.
1,131 views on the Last Parent podcast.
Oh, sick. So there's like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Hey, you're gonna have to get a little faster with that.
Yeah. Wait, what was the word again?
What's the opposite of
Exaggerate?
exaggerate?
Opposite of exaggerate. It's EXX.
Diminish?
Diminish.
That's what I
is
would
it
think.
diminish?
That's what I would think.
Guys, I'm going to have to get a little faster at this. Also, this Wi-Fi is just not helping.
Oh, solid. We'll blame the Wi-Fi on it.
All I'm getting is synonyms here.
So, yeah, we want to go antonyms.
Antonym?
Antonyms, yes.
Antonyms. This is it. This is the part of the podcast we really need.
We needed this bad.
Sorry, I'm trying not to cough, Maxwell.
I think it's diminish.
Diminish?
We're going to go with diminish.
Minimize.
Minimize. There it is.
Belittle.
Belittle. Thank you. All right. Now, so you did it.
I
We
did
just
it.
got to
We just
eliminate the gap.
Yeah.
Got to be quick. Quick on the spot, bro.
Gotta be quicker than
Okay. So I tend to exaggerate or minimize stories. So my mom was like, oh my God, she's beautiful. Wow, she seems amazing. Do you think you can handle being a dad?
Yeah.
Like, do you even know what that takes? And then my dad, I feel as if I don't even think it registered with him. He's like, is this real? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He was kind of waiting until I asked for you to marry me,
Yeah.
sort of deal. So it was a lot more of like that.
Yeah, but that is the question, right? How do I become a parent when I'm still raising myself? That was, I think, one of the things that we've been saying.
Yeah,
on the
no,
last one.
absolutely.
But even still today, like I still feel like
I don't feel like I've learned much. I don't feel like I've changed much.
you've trained a lot. We both have changed.
Yeah, I've chained a lot. I've chained a lot. She didn't say change.
Changed.
She said chain.
Sorry. Maxwell is shaking his head. Yes, he knew
right?
you then, and he knows you now.
Yeah, Maxwell's been a part of this journey from the beginning.
Yeah.
He knew pre-Rebekah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know, I love every part of it. There's been challenges, struggles, whatever.
Right.
But like it has been one of the greatest, just like parts of the journey of my life that I've enjoyed so much, and has taught me, has forced me to like learn some things about myself, or forced me to like handle some things on my own, or whether it's my emotions
Address
or
it, maybe
what.
like address things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Address some things. And I think that's what you are really good at, is having us address certain things even when it's uncomfortable. Can you think of any of those uncomfortable moments within the 8 years that we've been doing this together? Because now we have parented Brody together longer than you parented him by yourself.
Right. That's true.
So this is now
when we
the normal.
When we started dating, like we were long distance.
Yep.
So even what it meant to bring you into Brody's life looked very different. It wasn't like weekly you would be there for school pick. We would be able to kind of like figure out this life together. It was like, hey, once a month, that I'm traveling to see you, you're traveling to see me, and which is just hard just in general. Long distance relationships, not for the faint of heart. But especially when you're trying to navigate like this dating while having kids, because you're not becoming co-parents, but you're also trying to figure out if you could become co-parents. It's a really weird space to be in.
Yeah.
For sure.
What were some of those things that you felt like, what were some of those moments that you remember that, all right, this is about to be really uncomfortable, but we have to talk about it? I feel like you do that really well. I'm the guy that's like, I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, probably discipline was a really big one, like discussing what discipline would look like, because it is different coming from being a single parent, and I have all the say over what it looks like to parent this child and what discipline looks like, and I get to make all the decisions. But now if we truly are going to come in with this together and co-parent together, we have to discuss it. And what do you think discipline should look like? And am I okay with you disciplining Brody? And all of that. That was definitely one that was difficult to.
Okay, but I feel like that was a kind of a one and done situation. It was like,
Well, we agreed. That was part of it too, though. We agreed a lot on if you would have been like, hey, we never say no, we don't do timeouts, we don't like it wasn't gonna work out. You know?
we were talking
I'm
about
pretty strict in I'm pretty strict in my parenting.
Yes. And because we were just talking about this, your sister came over last night, and we were talking about how schools used to give kids licks.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, yeah, man, we need to bring that back. When did that stop? Find out what year that stopped, when schools stopped giving kids licks. You know what licks are? You don't know. Freaking Gen Alpha.
Spankings?
Yes.
Spankings. Yes.
With the ruler or whatever?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but I'm like, oh, yes, let's do that. Because, we spank our kids in a nice way.
There's no way.
What? There's no way.
1979?
That's probably about right
Oh, really?
when it stopped. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Not in Texas, let me tell you right now.
all right.
Look in Texas.
Hey, but we know something can be appointed or like said, but it takes years for it actually to change. Like we see that all throughout history. But so yeah, that might have been 19.
Wait, but what is it though?
What? Licks?
Yeah.
The school could spank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I just liked how you said spanking. Just laughing. Don't clip that.
Cut it, don't clip it.
Cut it, don't clip it.
Cut it.
Hey, you went across the line on that one. It's okay, but it's easy. It's easier when we agree. So what about one where we disagree? So the discipline, like we kind of agreed on the way we would discipline, and your role and my role versus that. But the roles weren't based off of. Someone told me this the other day, and I thought it was brilliant. And I feel like we've led this way. Is that our roles weren't based off of gender. It was based off of gift, like giftings.
Yeah.
So, but when we agree, I'm like, okay, that's easy. Got it. What about when we disagreed?
I don't know. You tell me, what do you think we disagree on?
Well,
Can you think of anything? I have something, but.
okay, yeah, but I need you to jog my memory. You know, I forget those things. Okay. No, see, Larry, I
Okay.
forgot. I got nothing.
We disagree on communication, how we communicate to the kids, how we talk to the kids.
Okay.
We disagreed on that.
Explain.
Whenever we.
I think we still disagree, but let's keep
well,
going.
for sure. This is a journey. Like I said, this is a journey.
Okay.
I was very strong on I will not say something that's even dishonest to Brody. I'm not saying that you would say something dishonest, but you would like to tease, make jokes,
Oh, okay.
kind of this like little critiques or little things where I was very, very hyper aware of how we talk to our kids.
Yeah.
And for you, that was much more loosely, like there wasn't a lot of there wasn't necessarily strong parameters that you felt needed to be around it whenever we first got together.
Yeah, you're right, which I feel like I've gotten better at that. But the teasing deal was a massive.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like our fights were bad.
Yeah, our fights were bad, but that was something that you had never grown up in. Like your family was not like a teasing family. So we're using the word teasing very intentionally because it wasn't like playful's good.
Yeah.
Teasing can become pretty quickly can become pretty bad. But I like my family. Oh my God! I mean, still to this day, we do. They're probably watching, and we know we tease a lot, and it's really because we don't want to have the direct conversation of what we really think or feel about each
You
other.
think, because I don't feel like you guys are shy away from having difficult conversations. You think?
Yeah, difficult conversations. But like, we don't really want to get deep. We don't really want to get like to the source of something.
Yeah, that is painful.
Like we'll confront,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't want to get to the deep source of it. So
Okay.
we tease to kind of go like, yeah,
I said it, but I didn't have to really say it.
yes, correct. Like, I'm even I don't even want to use an example because
Yeah.
I felt like
Yeah.
I've kind of buried that, tried to bury
Yeah.
that, but that comes up
Yeah.
every now and again. But yes, and I think within my journey of parenting, I've realized how much teasing has become my coping mechanism to like, I don't know to what. Have I said that before? But as a coping mechanism, like comedy was a coping mechanism to like not have to deal with certain things or not have to address certain things.
Right.
Because I would feel as if that would if I addressed it, I would realize how much that was actually not a good thing. And so then I would remove it and then, oh gosh, that means I got to go deeper and find out what it really is.
Yeah. That's real for all of us. I mean, that is real. Uncovering the things that we've maybe acquired through life to not have to deal with maybe some of the realness.
Yeah.
But I always felt like there were parts of my family that I wanted to recreate and have as like, this is, oh my gosh, I loved how I grew up. I loved a lot of pieces of my family. I was like, if I could just take this and try to recreate it here. But for me, the teasing was putting my kid in a place of like, they don't know whether I'm serious or not.
Yeah.
Now I'm putting it on them to decide
Yeah,
at
you're
4
right.
or 5 years old.
That's okay. When you said that to me, because that was about a couple years in.
Yeah.
When you said that to me, I went, ugh, because we learned pretty quickly that like we can't let our kids do the hard work, the hard job. Like we have to do the hard job as adults,
Right.
or as parents,
Yeah.
to go like.
Katie Faust says that in some of her books and teachings.
And what does she talk about? Like what specific?
Well, she's like,
moments?
it's our job. So when our kids have when it's this emotional breakdown or whatever, and we kind of put the weight on our kid to like, why don't you figure this out? Or we get angry and so we explode, and it's like, well, you shouldn't have made me yell.
Correct. And yes. So we have to do the hard job as parents and as adults to be like, to control our tempers.
Right.
To go and apologize to them and go, I shouldn't have acted that way. And it not be, so that, oh my gosh, that was something that I had no semblance of understanding. It, like, that was a big thing for me of like, because I would naturally be like, hey, you got to figure that out, bro. I remember even telling Genesis, because he has a temper. I'm like, bro, you got to figure this out, dude.
Right.
And when you had said that, like, we do the hard work, it started to change my perspective on, okay, there's some things I'm going to have to get in order and get in line.
Right.
And not just pawn off to my kids.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to have to, it's too hard for me to deal with my own temper and my own dysfunction that I have. So, but you figure it out.
Correct.
Like, you don't make me angry. You don't make me explode. Now, do they still make me angry and make me yell? And at different times, I'm like, because of their actions, I respond this way. Yes, but I can't say you made me, because I can only control my actions.
Yeah.
So like, okay, you may have done this. How can I continue? Holly said it one time. She's like, the best way to help your kid with their insecurity is to deal with your own. And I think sometimes in parenting, we can have a fear that if we don't just toughen them up, like they got to be tough for this world, because the world is going to knock them down and we got to make them tough. But I'm like, is that my job for my kid to be so tough and afraid of me or like unsure about me? I really want my kid, the toughest person is not an insecure person. It's an emotionally stable person.
Okay, so emotions. Let's talk about emotions, because I remember when Genesis, because that was the thing with Brody. He was like 8, boom, going into the preteen stage. I didn't know anything about babies to the preteen. Right. So, which, look up when actual preteen starts. I should know this as a NextGen pastor. I think it's 10, but see if it's 8. We quickly realized that Genesis was very emotional. And then he knew how to explain his emotions. And one thing that I think we did well was go, like, to foster that.
Yeah.
We wanted him to, foster, hey, yeah, keep explaining and understanding your emotions. Talk it out loud. Come to us with it and be okay. Rather than, bro, you gotta freaking toughen up. You're a man. Let's go, boy. Suppress it.
Yeah.
Get it down. And then that's where masculinity becomes toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not talking about, Erwin McManus talks about toxic masculinity versus feminine masculinity. And I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about the healthy masculinity. For sure. Where, dude, I want my son to be able to understand when he's angry and go, I am very aware of this anger that is rising up. I need to do something before I lash out. Right?
Yes, for sure.
What did he say? When you made him mad one time, he goes,
you have emptied my heart of all of its love.
He was 4 years old.
That's what Genesis told me one time. He expresses. So what I was going to say is, like, we say that Genesis is extremely emotional, but I think all kids are extremely emotional. True. Just some are verbally like, I don't know, that's a gifting cognitive, of theirs or cognitive of it, to where they can communicate their emotions, whereas others, like Lainey, he is also very emotional, but he doesn't know how to talk about it, so it results in him just screaming or lashing out or like
hitting the lawn.
He has this vein right here, Lainey, that his neck tenses up and he has this vein. And so, but it's all bottled up. And so with Lainey, part of our role as parents is to foster and try to create these avenues of like talking about it and getting it through, with also discipline. There's also discipline. You don't get to just react however you want because you feel a certain way. Like, we are not super like, okay, let's just sit down and talk. The gentle parenting, that has caused a lot of like guilt and shame, I think, in my life, because I'm trying to do it in some ways, but then in other ways, like, I need to discipline you in maybe a different way right now. But for Genesis, he's so vocal that his emotions, whenever he's emotional, it's like he can come across as extremely emotional, but really he just knows how to communicate it. So when I made him mad, he will go up and he'll draw. He's a very artistic person too. He draws pictures of the scene that just happened that caused all of this emotion.
Mom's eyebrows are like this.
Yes, my eyebrows. We have our friends.
Red steam.
Some of our friends we talk to, that it's just always just like the eyebrows on the pictures that he draws. And so.
What's preteen?
It says 9 to 11 or 12.
9.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, look, there it is.
He was right there.
He was right there.
But then Genesis, you've emptied my heart of all of its love.
And Laney's at the stage where we're just trying to teach him how to breathe.
Yes.
Like, bro, breathe.
Breathe. Oh, yeah.
You know, when he's angry, we're like, yo,
Yes.
calm down.
Yep.
But he doesn't have those verbal cues yet. He didn't know how to say it. He's 3.
Yep.
3, yeah.
And Brody, he's much more of a stuffer of emotions, which is actually, it feels like easier when you're parenting, but it's more difficult when you're training and developing a child because you don't really know what they're thinking.
Correct. Brody is like the magician hat when you pull out those colorful little ribbons and it just keeps going and going and going. Once you grab one and pull it out, it's like, oh no, here it goes. And you're just you're getting all these emotions and thoughts. And you're like, bro, you've been thinking this? You've been feeling this?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I feel like we're always constantly having to gear switch. I struggle with that where I'm like, oh, good Lord, we're just talking about emotions all day. So I'm like, I can, I like how to take deep breaths, man. I gotta.
Yeah, so that's
all right, you got
Tim,
this
breathe.
one, babe.
And Tim's like, that's where Lainey gets it.
But that's where sometimes I'll be like, hey, that is something you kind of have to, what? I guess I would, for lack of a better term, be like, all right, so what do you think you should do with that? Like I could, him being 17, now it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I want to help you, but now me helping you is coaching you, and I'm on the sideline kind of deal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
As opposed to like Lainey is the disciplining, and then Genesis, that age, is like teaching.
Right.
I'm literally walking alongside you, doing it with you.
Well, I don't know if you have kids that play sports where when they're like 3 and 4, sometimes the coach is actually out on the field or on the court, and they'll like stop a play and they'll be like, okay, we'll give this back to them. And that's a lot of what parenting is in the earlier years. But then truly, as they get older, you become the coach that's on the sidelines. You're like, I don't get to play this game for you. All I can hope is that for the years that we've trained together, that you'll go out there and you're going to make mistakes and you're not going to remember all the things that we've talked about before. But I still get to be a voice in your life that every once in a while we need to take a time out. And for us, that happens in our room. It'll be like the end of the night and Brody will just come in our room. And it's the sweetest thing. So just come.
Okay, so hold that thought, because I like that. But how we get to our room is very interesting. Our friends say, they go, something's happening, downstairs, and they're like, nope. They look at each other, and they're like, nope, we don't deserve this.
We don't deserve.
And they walk, and they just walk into their room, and their kids are like, wait, what's going on? Has your parents ever done this before? Like, look at each other and go, nope, we don't deserve this. Walk up the stairs. And then they're like, wait, where are they?
Right, because
what's happening?
Like, I've already given you the tools. Now you're just lashing out at me. You're not being patient. You know what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to sit here and experience this. I'm going to go sit in peace in my room for a second because we all need that.
And we started doing this. We've done it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Once we heard that story, we were like, that's brilliant. It's like when it just gets crazy because our house is chaotic.
It is.
You grew up with 6. I grew up with 1. How many?
One
One sibling.
I had 5
How many siblings did you have? Just one? Were you the oldest or youngest?
Oldest. I had 2 older half siblings, but they didn't live with us.
Okay.
It was just me and my little sister.
So, I mean, our life was chaotic. Or our life is chaotic.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
4 kids, and you're like, that 5, we talked about this last time,
It
that
is-
5 to 7 is
yeah.
crazy.
Well, and it's hard because Milan is not at the age where we can just leave her either, because Lainey might he might hurt her, and
No,
so
he really would.
he really would. The other day he was telling her that she was his best friend, and then immediately afterwards he took a blanket and just like put it over her face, and I was like, oh my God.
No,
okay.
guys, y'all need to pray for him.
Let's pray for Lainey.
No, for real.
But he was just out of like, oh, I thought I was playing. So Milan, so we can't just
I think we need to stop and pray.
leave the God,
Jesus.
Jesus, Lainey. Just meet him right now where he's at with his veggie straws and just speak to him.
Get the demon out of him, Lord, in the name of Jesus.
Let's not
Anyway, so
take
that's
it
how we
lightly.
get
Yeah,
to our
that's
room
serious.
a lot of times now,
Sometimes,
where we're like,
yeah. But
nope.
we have to take Milan with us, or we'll
Yeah, we
like
do.
put her in her room, or we'll set like.
okay, so Brody gets in the room then.
Yeah, but he does that whether we do that or not.
Yes,
he
correct.
just comes in our room and he'll just be like, we'll be reading or something. We're like, hey, bro. It's like, hey, what's going on? Nothing.
But, and here's the deal. I know when you're hearing this, you're like, I wish my kid would do that. I know what you're thinking. Guys, I'm telling you right now, this is the product of this woman's parenting within the first 8 years. I'm telling you, this kid, you know, as much as you were strict and had the whatever, right, the disciplines and all that, I have always been shocked by like Brody's innate ability to be not like most teenagers, right? Like he
Yeah,
is not
yeah.
he is an anomaly. He really is. And I think that's a lot because of the way you parented and what he's been through, right? And
Yeah.
the thing that, you know, God has put on his life.
For sure. I mean, it was very intentional, but like,
So
had to
I
pray
still
all the
get
time, God, please.
I'm still in shock.
Protect
I'm like,
him.
you want him to come talk to us in our rooms? Like he does it on his own. 17 years of age.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I never did that.
I know. I don't know if it's because we're so close in age or what,
Yeah,
but there is part of it
it's
too.
true.
He'll come in. There's either girls he's talking to or things that he's going through, and he'll probably hate them saying this, but he'll be like, "Can you guys?" He's like, "She said this. What do I say?" And we have a little power. We're like, "All right, pull the covers. Okay, sit down. This is."
Yes.
He's like, or he'll be like, "This is what I was gonna say," and we're both like, "Do not say that." No.
We're like, this is why.
You live in an age where everything is recorded now, and you have like.
You can't say that,
Don't
dude.
say that. It's a little too strong or a little too this. Like,
Or do you
it's-
really think that?
Yeah. So I love that he comes in and like seeks our advice. But sometimes, you know how much easier it would be because we're tired, had a really long day. Sometimes it's like 10 o'clock at night.
And this is where we have to do the hard work.
Yep. Where it would be easy just to be like, all right, good night, bro. Thank you for doing the dishes or whatever. We love you. And he would turn around and walk out and be like, love you guys too. And we would just learn, though, that we're like, what's going on? Nothing. Okay, you feeling good? You talking to any girls? No, not right now. And we have to dig. Oh, we have to dig.
It's like 18 questions with this boy.
We have to dig while Genesis is still yelling in his room about things that he still wants to do. We're like, we already talked about that. Okay, it's not your turn anymore. It's now Brody's turn to talk. And we're just having to dig. And then all of a sudden, I don't remember what it was the other night, but we just dug for a little bit, and it came out that he was like, I'm feeling a little insecure about like what I'm going to do with my life. And the path that I'm on and what I want to do for work and am I passionate about it and all these little things. But for the first 7 minutes, it was, no, I'm good. Not really anything. And so then I have to get better at questions because that's the hard thing is to come up with something other than just, how are you? What's going on?
And then for me, it was, I need to sit in this moment. This is going to be 25 minutes. Be
Yeah.
okay with it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a 5-minute deal.
Well, it's hard because you have your movie you want to watch or the book that you're trying to read, and you're like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more studying scripture than anything,
Well.
but, you know.
yes. Okay. Sometimes.
No, yeah, that's true.
What are some of those questions, though? We've been like, where we just have to ask something different to try to get, I'm like, okay, this didn't get anywhere. I'm like, what are you thinking right now? You're thinking something. Just what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's all I need to know. I just want to know your thoughts. Because when I ask you a question, it's more like, how are you? What do you think about work? They don't know what they think of. They don't know what it is they think about that. But I know I have a thought. I don't know. What am I thinking? No, my brain's just telling me like I'm kind of dumb. I think I'm dumb. Mm-hmm. You know, it'll be something as small as that.
Yeah.
You're like,
Which
okay.
ultimately we know as parents is really big.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Well, I think when we would ask questions, we would have to redefine a lot of things. I'll speak to myself. I had to redefine a lot of what I thought this was going to be.
Okay.
So when we got married, I felt as if everything was going to line up and fall within my schedule or my...
Mm-hmm. I just get added to your life.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I think within the first week, I knew, yeah, that's not happening. Mm-hmm. But then within the next year, it was like actually having to walk that out. Yeah. Killing ego, killing pride, selfish, just realizing how selfish
we had a very difficult first 6 months of marriage.
Yeah, it was the hardest. That was the hardest. We say that was the hardest.
When people talk about like the honeymoon phase and all of that, it's like I feel like we're more in the honeymoon phase now than we were in the first 6 months for sure. And that was hard to even reconcile because I was like, oh my gosh, everybody talks about how this is the light time in your marriage where you're just having fun and it's honeymoon. And I was like, that is not what we're experiencing. We're more so experiencing like, did we do the right thing? Both of us at times looked at each other. And that's where the whole part of like marriage is hard work came in at the beginning. But I think part of that is having a child, blending our family at the same time.
Absolutely.
And knowing like, oh wait, I assumed that you grew up the same way I grew up. Or not, maybe not assumed that, but I assumed that even if you didn't grow up the same way, you think the same things.
Yeah. And we did not.
We did not.
Our families are really different.
They're very different.
Very
but
different.
Good things from both families to draw out of and things from both of us. So we're like, I don't know that I want to take that into my family, but it addressed.
Because I'm the guy, you're the person, because you talked about this earlier, you're the person that thinks about your family and goes, these are the things that I want.
Yes.
From my family.
Yes.
To go into our family.
To a detriment.
I am the person that goes, these are the things that I don't want from my family. Mm-hmm. Right? As opposed to, these are the things that I want from my family. Yeah, there's the whole gap gain. So that was a thing. I'm a lot more gain now than I am gap. Mm-hmm. Than I used to be. All gap.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But
yeah. Well, I would get into I would get very frustrated because I would see our family not becoming a semblance of my family from growing up, and I would get scared and I would get worried and I'd be like, I have to protect this. Because that's a lot of when I was a single parent, I was protecting. I was protecting how Brody was going to grow up. I was protecting what our family looked like. I was trying to protect this model of like, okay, he may not get this experience, but he's going to love God. He's going to know that I love him. He's going to know that I'm truthful and honest with him. And so that would make me lash out and we would have fights because I was very, very afraid of our family becoming something that I was like, oh, that's not the road that I was hoping our family would go down.
Yeah. When do you feel, like what moments did you feel like that came to a head the most? Because it never felt like to me that it was a protection. Mm-hmm. Because you say, I'm trying to protect. Mm-hmm. It never felt like me. It was a protection, which you obviously know what I felt like it was. But
what, correction? What did you feel like it was?
It didn't feel like, oh, I'm trying to protect something. It felt like your way was the only way. Mm-hmm. And
I don't think that's right, but I understand how you felt that.
Yeah. And I remember saying something in the middle of a fight, heated argument, conversation.
Intense fellowship.
Intense
as
fellowship.
My dad would say.
Yeah, look up some
I'm a
synonyms
PK.
for fights
I'm
real
a
quick and
pastor's
see.
kid, so intense fellowship was what we used for fighting.
We had some pretty significant intense fellowship moments.
Yes.
But I remember saying something to you, and we talked about this earlier, that I don't know if it felt like it did something to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. When you say you didn't know that it was protection, it's probably because I didn't communicate to you all the things that I wanted my family to look like.
Yeah.
My family, instead of it being our family.
Yeah.
And so I had this idea in my head, and it was like, oh, anything that came against that, I was like, I just know that isn't going to lead to this end goal. And so, no, we can't talk like that. We can't say those things to the kids. And so I became very harsh and stern, I think, even against you. And we were in our house, first house we ever bought. And I remember being in our closet in our bathroom, and you were standing there in the doorway. And I was just so frustrated. I remember my mind was just filled with fear. It really was, of like this picture of the family I thought I was going to have is dissolving away.
Withering.
It's withering. And I'm very sad and I'm mad. And you looked at me and you said, "You have no grace for me." And you walked out. And I just remember sitting there thinking, it just hit me so hard. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm not trying to be all these things. But in my effort to protect, I've given you no grace. I've given you no room to be a parent on your own. I had the ability, because of circumstances, to parent without someone looking over my shoulders. I got to mess up in private. I got to say the wrong things to Brody without anybody listening. I got to do it wrong and no one correct me but the conviction of the Holy Spirit, and not to feel the judgment necessarily from another person. And there's something about marriage when you're parenting together that there is this, it's an insecure place. It's a vulnerable place because you know that you did it wrong, but this other person sees that you did it wrong too. And especially if they have something to say about it. And I realized, oh my gosh, you are having to learn to parent on the first go at it with me, who's been in his life for years, judging every little thing that you said, correcting every little thing of like, nope, don't say it like this. Don't do it like this. And I'm also not the person, I don't feel like I was saying it that directly, but I would give you a look or a face. I still do it sometimes. I have to check myself, or you're like, you gave me this look that I just can't take. But I realized I was like, why did you do that? Or, man, and I would but then I would sit in it myself. And without talking about it, I built up this big scenario in my brain of, well, this is where we're going to be at 5 years down the road. And I'm already defeating myself because of something I don't even have the grace to give you in the moment.
Yeah, so you were Pastor talks about that pre-deciding, right? Yeah. Pre-deciding where it was actually going.
Yeah.
But I remember that moment because it felt like I actually said what I was really meaning to say.
Yes.
And it wasn't a lash out or like a cross the line. It was, no, this is coming from the depths of my soul, and I'm feeling it. And I'm insecure. I do not know how to do this. Yeah. I already think you're great at this, but there's some things that I feel like we could do together better. And I hate failing, and I failed 100 times, and I'm coming to the end of myself type deal. I think we had felt that. We had come to the end of ourselves.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because we had all the fights and said all the things.
Oh,
If you could do this
gosh.
so perfect without me, why didn't you just keep doing it without me? Like all the things. Like we would escalate our fights too, and we had to
Yeah.
learn how to not do
we
that.
had to learn how to not do that for sure.
But that one, it was very different because it was like it hit me in my spirit and in my soul.
And it wasn't what I said. I think it was, by the grace of God, seriously, like, because I don't want people to hear, like, see,
Yeah.
I've said the same thing. Or,
Right.
like, no, that was definitely a God moment of, like,
Yeah.
helping us understand exactly where I was, like, being vulnerable and opening up and going, yeah, hey, like, I don't know how to do this. That's
Right.
not easy for me to do.
Right.
But I think the protecting thing is crazy because I don't know, maybe if I would have known that, there would have been a convo. I don't know if there would have been. But I remember.
But I was still trying to protect a version that I wanted. I wasn't like us having the convo of like, is that what we both want? Well, these are parts that I really don't want to move on of what I want. How can we bring this together? But also, I got to have some really great conversations with my parents too, because my parents didn't hide their fighting from us, but my parents are wonderful people, but we have my siblings are anywhere from in their 40s to mid 20s. So there's a great span of time between the children.
But you have like a list of conversations that you've had with your parents.
Yeah.
Like big moments, right?
Yeah.
Would you talk about your dad a lot? Would you say the same thing? Like you could talk about 20 different moments?
I could name a good amount.
Yeah.
I've never written them down. I don't know if
Yeah,
you write
yeah,
them
yeah.
down.
No,
But yeah,
no.
I can recall some like pivotal conversations for sure.
And I can too, but I feel like it was few and far between. That's not necessarily bad, but I can remember 2 or 3, 4 that were just like, I'll never forget that moment. I feel like you have story after story or combo after combo. I'm like, again, this goes back to that. I feel like you've lived so many lives. That I'm like, good gosh, I don't think I have that many combos with my parents.
I also just remember a lot too, so that's it. But my parents, as I've grown up, I realized there's a version of my life that I remember, and that's the memories as a child. That's different than if I was an adult looking in on the situation or the life and what I would know. And so they brought me in, and I'm like, oh man, we were fighting like crazy in this season of our life. And I was like, wait, what? I'm like, I knew there were some, but like we were just playing in the back room, you know? And I was like, oh, I didn't know that we were ever going to get through it. I didn't know if I would ever like him again. Or like my mom telling me these things. I was like, oh my gosh, you felt that about Dad? Dad's amazing. How'd you? And she's like, well, yeah, I mean, we've grown, but this is what we went through. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm comparing my like first few years of marriage to what I saw 20 years later.
Okay, so how do you feel? This could be a good thing, I think. How do you, and you might have some things to say about this, JT, because of what you saw your parents do. But what do you think about that when it comes to having children and fighting in front of them or hiding everything that's going on? Like what?
Yeah. I mean, again, there's an escalation that I don't think that children should see or be a part of. So there's certain times in our fights where it's like, oh man, we either need to control it or like, hey, we need to step outside for a second because we're just going to keep fighting and we've got to get through this. We're not saying what we really want to say right now in front of them.
Yeah.
But always, always, always that there is the reconciliation in front of them. Now, do I remember always seeing that? I don't know. But it gave me the semblance that my parents were together at the end of it.
Yeah.
My parents were on the same side at the end of it. It may have been the next morning, but I saw them have a love for each other again and and I'm sorry from my dad, and I'm sorry from my mom.
There was closure
There was closure to it.
from a moment.
I didn't ever have to wonder, like, are my mom and dad?
Okay, so it was a little different for me. And that's there wasn't closure.
I get. I did not grow up in a normal home either.
I would be like, I don't know, is it better? Oh, we're going to the movies together. I guess it's better. You know what I'm saying? What was it like for you?
Yeah, well, I think there's nothing more scary maybe as a child than you're wondering, like, where
What's
are
gonna
they
happen?
at? Yeah,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? So obviously I've seen my parents do it right. I've seen them do it
Yeah.
wrong. But I think that moment where they would, like, publicly
Yeah.
Hey, we're
resolve,
okay, kids.
we're good, give you, like, the reassurance
Assurance,
that,
yep.
like, we're good. We just had to discuss something.
Yeah.
We're moving past it. We're all good. I think that was really important as a kid. Even now, like, to know that everything's fine. We just had to talk through something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said stuff I didn't mean. If it was, in front of you,
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry for that.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
kind of modeling that
Yep.
humanity in it all.
And that's
Exactly.
huge to say it, because a lot of times we can think, by my actions, we'll just show it. We'll just, like, all sit down at dinner and we'll just now be good. But then the kids don't ever experience, how did you get good?
Right. Exactly.
Like, did you just decided not to talk about it anymore?
Yeah.
No.
It's kind of like what you said before, like you're leaving it up to them to decide.
Yep.
When in reality, you could just plainly state it.
Yep.
And
That's
see,
right.
it's like it's obviously there's a lot of benefits to that, right? There's things where I like look and go, man, would I wanted it different? That feels like that would be awesome, because the closure thing, I wouldn't have been able to, like, articulate that at that age. Whatever, being a kid, raising,
Yeah, you don't know what
growing
that
up, you don't
means.
know.
Yeah.
But there was a part of how I was raised, like those kind of moments, where it did something else for me that I feel like, some things I've had to heal from, but then other things where I've been able to, like, be strong in moments. I've been able to, like, go through an awkward situation completely fine. Like, it doesn't affect me, because I think I did that for so long, whereas, like, it's been beneficial. So I think some people can listen to some of this and go, yeah, see, it's my parents' fault. That's not what I'm not
No.
trying to say that.
No.
Because
If only my parents would have given me this, it's like,
no, yeah, because
ideally, yes. Ideally,
1,000%.
where none of us are flawed human beings, and
that's where I just go, like, well, I wouldn't be the man that I am today without the way my parents raised me. Good, bad, right, wrong, indifferent. There's things that I learned that maybe some other people weren't able to learn that way and didn't get that benefit.
Right.
And I think you have to look for those
right.
benefits within how you were raised.
Yeah.
And that is where
Well, the scripture says
It's-
God works all things together for your good.
exactly.
It's like, okay, so what does that actually mean?
Yep.
In this situation where maybe I wouldn't have chosen a certain outcome or a certain experience that I experienced, that's going to develop something in me. Now, whether or not it goes this way or this way, like, God
I
can work
decide.
it all together for your good.
I'm held accountable for that.
Right.
Not my parents.
Right. So you can take something that kind of instilled a grit or a fortitude in you to, like, hey, get through something, or
Correct.
hey, things are going to be hard. And you can either use that to overpower,
Yeah.
or you can use that to sustain.
I like sustain. That gets us into, we were in Miami at the beginning of the week. And we can kind of probably end with this, but Denny Duran preached Who Let the Dogs Out. And he talked about Caleb, and Caleb's a dog. And ideally, leaders have dogs in them, just like, that phrase where it's like,
Yeah.
they got a dog in them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The Bible says it's like a fire shut up in my bones.
Yeah.
Like, I can't not let it out.
But he talked about what are some things you should stop? What are some things you should start? What are
Yeah.
some things you should sustain?
Yeah.
I think those are three great questions for parents to ask. what are some things we should stop doing?
Yep.
What are some things we should start doing? And just be like, nope, this is the way we do it now.
Yep.
Like, it's not like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
we're trying to get there. No, this is what we do, right? And then what are some things that we should continue to sustain?
Yeah.
What would you say are some things that, like, if maybe there's some people watching who have similar experiences that we do, or they're just catching on a little bit of it or whatever. What are some things that you're like, man, this would be helpful. Like, do this.
Yeah.
If you do anything, these are some things that you should do.
I don't. That's a very definitive statement. I feel like I'm trying to think. I mean, we've said it like, talk to your kids.
Okay.
Is that what you mean?
Oh, like go to counseling.
Go to counseling.
I think everyone
you
should go to
probably
counseling.
You should probably get into an environment, a space that is
It's not-
safe, where you can have conversations.
Exactly. Or start a podcast. It's on-air therapy. It helps. JT's our
Maybe you should
counselor.
go to counseling first.
I'm just the guy in the chair, man.
Yeah. But to be able to talk, like, maybe you need to go by yourself because you're like, I'm too insecure to go with my spouse right now. I need to go by myself. Or it's not insecurity. I just need to go on my own.
I'm not gonna be open enough.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. I'd say counseling for sure.
Counseling's
Yeah.
okay. That's what I mean.
to
Like,
start.
hey, like,
Yeah.
if you don't have the big issue with it, or even if you kind of do, maybe challenge yourself a little bit. Like, counseling's massive. It just helps you understand you more.
Yeah.
Continue to start talking with your kids.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. Stop
Take those
holding
moments.
things in and not sharing it with your spouse, like frustrations, all of that. You might need to filter and decipher what needs to be said,
Yeah.
but don't stop letting something build up so much in your mind that you create an outcome that actually isn't the reality.
Okay, I did this yesterday.
Yeah.
Monday.
Yesterday.
It's ironic that all this is lining up, but I did this yesterday. During E-group, we had some things happen, some altercations.
I didn't even know. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, she didn't know, but no one else knew. Dustin's like, wait, what? He's in our E-group. And I'd be like, hey, afterwards, what the heck? Why you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And I know for me, I am trying to grow from that. So I took the night. I didn't hold anything against you. You didn't even know.
I didn't know.
But it wasn't like I was hiding. It was more of like, I'm processing this. And then the next night, I said, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? You made this face, and it gets on my nerves. That's what I said. I said, you made this face, and it makes me feel, I said, it gets on my nerves.
You can't do
because
it anymore.
I was like, well, it makes me feel so insecure. And I'm just using that word because it's like, I feel less than. And I'm like, and I know we're in a state where we're like trying to be honest with each other. And I'm going, look, it's hard for me to open up. So I'm trying to do it right now, and you give me that face, and like I explained the face, what she does with her eyes, what she does with her head, and like all of it. So she knows exactly the face because she's like, well, what face? I'm like, if you don't know what face, I don't need to explain it to you. That's what I would usually have said.
I didn't even know I made a face.
But then I did the face, and then you knew. You're like, oh yeah, I didn't mean that.
Right.
You know what, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I know you didn't, because I understand your heart more.
Right.
But this is what it does to me. Right. And I don't know why it does it to me. And I'm trying to figure it out. But I want you to know it got underneath my skin. So it wasn't like she needed to do anything. I think I did say, don't ever do that face anymore. But that was more of the joking, where it's like, I can't ask you necessarily to do that. However, like, okay, I'm processing that. And so you're probably you're going to be aware of a little more of what
Yes.
that was.
Yeah.
And
For
like,
sure.
okay, I'm probably not going to do that for a while or whatever, right?
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
because we were like, hey, all right, cool. Now let's just go on with the conversation. And that's it. It was a 5-minute
right.
conversation done. We didn't have to have this.
Long drawn out. Hey, over the last few weeks, you keep doing these things and you keep it stuff down. The sooner that you can have the conversations with your spouse, ultimately will help you in parenting as well.
Well, so she says that, but I go, I need a night. I need a breath. I need time. I need space, or I
Yeah.
can't articulate it. And you didn't like that. You still don't like that. You're like, I want to know now. I'm like, no, because I will literally say things I don't want to say to you
This is true.
because I am so upset.
Right.
I'm like, So from who I am, my lack of discipline, my lack of immaturity, or my lack of maturity, I'm like, I can't do that right now. I have to wait until I'm calm. And then, boom.
Right. So maybe it's that. As soon as you can have like a mature conversation about it.
And I'm not
Don't
good
let
at it, but
that
that
be a
was one
long time.
moment I did do it well.
You did.
I did.
It was very
But
good.
that was like one moment, guys. So,
So,
just
you
saying.
do a lot of great things.
But
Ultimately, if you grow in your marriage, parenting will only benefit from it for sure.
yeah.